time now for business. Let's say hello to Kate Moody.
Hi, Francois.
The pandemic had to measure the impact on workers is something that the International Labour Organization has been thinking about.
Yeah, and long-term COVID scarring is how the ILO has described the risk in its latest report. On the current trajectory, it says there will be 75 million fewer overall jobs in the world this year as a direct result of the pandemic. When combined with fewer working hours, that represents 100 million fewer full-time jobs. The global unemployment rate is set to be 5.7% next year. That's 205 million people compared to 187 million in 2019. The study shows 5 years of progress in reducing poverty among the workforce has been wiped out with an additional 108 million workers living in poverty or extreme poverty. That means a family living on less than $3.20 per day. Now, the ILO has again highlighted the risk of an unequal recovery, noting that developing countries are struggling to access COVID-19 vaccines. Young people preparing to the workforce could face years of delays and disruptions.
We expect the employment situation will be worse in low-income countries. High-income countries will close the gaps the fastest thanks to their better access to vaccines and their strong fiscal policy support. For many millions of people, the working hour losses, combined with a lack or absence of social protection, have simply meant an increase in poverty.
The European Union's rules on government spending will remain suspended through next year. Member states are supposed to cap their budget deficit at 3% of GDP and debt at 60%. Those limits were lifted last year to allow countries to increase their spending to protect businesses and workers. They're set to begin receiving funds from the bloc's €750 billion recovery fund in the coming weeks. And even though the outlook for economic growth is looking up, EU authorities urged governments not to wrap up their stimulus plans too quickly.
We reconfirmed that member states should not prematurely withdraw fiscal support. Fiscal support policy should remain supportive both in 2021 and 2022.
Let's check in on the day's trading action now. The major European indices closed higher, gains of between 1/4 and 1/2 percentage point there just at the close. The Paris CAC 40 up about 0.5%. Wall Street's also in the green, fairly muted, although we have seen the S&P 500 managing to hit a new record high. Shares of the AMC Entertainment Group soaring more than 20% for the second day in a row. Investors are looking ahead to a key jobs report due on Friday, which could paint a clearer picture of the state of the U.S. economy and the recovery of the labor market after April's disappointing numbers. The world's largest meat processing firm says most of its plants are back on track after a ransomware attack affected production in the U.S. and Australia. Brazil-based JBS said it had made significant progress in dealing with the disruption to its servers, but the incident has further raised tensions between Washington and Moscow, with the White House pitting the blame on a criminal organization based in Russia. Johnny Miljamin reports.
They went after our gas and they went after our hot dogs. No one is out of bounds here.
It was a hack designed to sever the meat industry. On Sunday, the world's largest meat processing company, JBS, became the latest entity to fall victim to a serious cyber attack. Now Wednesday, and most of JBS's plants, which were forced to shut, are set to be operational again. But for the heavily automated meat supplier, which employs more than 150,000 workers worldwide, the damage could be costly. Were all of JBS to shut down for just one day, the US would lose almost 1/4 of its beef processing capacity. Even before the attack, US meat prices were rising due to coronavirus shutdowns. And ahead of this year's summer barbecues, the US Department of Agriculture estimated beef prices would climb another 1 to 2%, poultry 1.5%, and pork 2 to 3%. The attack has also shone a spotlight on cybersecurity, coming just weeks after a similar incident shut down a US oil pipeline.
Consumers are going to continue to experience more of these kinds of disruptions given the relatively nascent state of defenses in a lot of major US corporates and other global corporates around the world. We've got to demand more.
The White House announced on Monday that the FBI was investigating, claiming that a Russia-based criminal group developed the ransomware behind the attack. For its part, the Kremlin has denied any knowledge of the hack, stating rather it had even offered to assist the United States. This coming just weeks before Presidents Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden meet in crucial face-to-face talks.
Seeing both the public and private sector equally at risk of these kinds of attacks these days.